Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm talking about a much beloved film today. I've got to be very careful with this one. I only saw it for the first time, probably about a year ago. It's from 1986. It's taken me 35 years to catch up with it. The reason I didn't watch it the first time round is it's one of those movies that if you were around in the mid-80s and you were a teenager or a child, you would remember this with the very best memories. I unfortunately was about 24, 25 when this film came out, and took one look at the video sleeve and thought, no, that's a kid's film, I don't really want to watch that. But I have gained a newfound respect for this movie, Flight of the Navigator. As I say, made in 1986, it's directed by Randall Kleiser, who also made Grease, the musical. So you know you're getting something of quality. It's a fairly simple sort of science fiction story oriented around a family. Joey Kramer plays David, who lives with his mum and dad in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He also lives with his annoying little brother. He's entrusted to collect his brother from playing with friends one night and cuts through the woods and falls into a ravine. He climbs out of the ravine, what he thinks is several hours later, goes back home to tell his parents what's happened, and finds strange people living in his house. To cut a long story short, it turns out he's been missing for 8 years. He was abducted by aliens, obviously dropped back off again. The strange thing is, obviously, that he hasn't aged a day. This is an amazing film. I really regret not watching this the first time round when it came out. But as I say, I took one look at the sleeve and thought, this doesn't look like me. But I've watched it twice now. I intend watching it again, as I really enjoyed it. You've got a couple of other stars in there. You've got Veronica Cartwright, who made Alien in 1979. You've got Howard Hesseman, who plays the top scientist, who I remember mostly from a cracking American sitcom from the 70s called WKRP in Cincinnati. He played Dr. Johnny Fever at a radio station. I thought that was brilliant. I used to love that, so I remember him from that one. You've got Cliff DeYoung, who was in quite a few sort of TV movies and TV series of the time, and a very young Sarah Jessica Parker. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but is Sarah Jessica Parker Buffy, a certain vampire slayer? Am I right on that one? I've seen sort of bits of Buffy, and I can't sort of equate the picture of her with that, but the name rings a bell, so if I'm wrong on that, please forgive me. I thought the Goonies had what you would class as a real fan base, a real loyal fan base among people that saw the thing for the first time, you know, when it first came out, and they've loved it ever since. This movie is definitely on a par with that. It's a cracking science fiction adventure. It's got a wonderful soundtrack. The second the film opens, it is a dog frisbee contest, and the music over that, it is just pure 80s. So I really enjoyed this, and it's given me a bit of a taste to track down a lot of other 80s classics that I've not yet seen. I'm not willing to admit which ones they are, because I get too much crap every time I tell people what I've not seen, but I'm going to be catching up with quite a few 80s classics. But if you get the chance to watch Flight of the Navigator, if you haven't seen it, don't be fooled by the sleeve. It's a fairly, no, I wouldn't say it's adult, but it's not as childish as I thought it would be, nowhere near. But I thought it was just a charming, wonderful 80s movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I definitely intend to watch it again on this Blu-ray, which I've got. I only got this through this week, and it's got quite a few extras on there. You've got interviews with most of the cast, how the film was made, all that sort of thing. So I'll probably do a review of the actual Blu-ray, i.e. picture quality and all that, once I've actually got a chance to watch it. If you want to see more about the actual making of it and the background of the stars and what happened to them afterwards, there's a movie called Life After the Navigator. Now, I put this on the Facebook group, and a couple of people thought it was actually a sequel. And I have to admit, if I'd have seen it, the poster for it, I'd have thought it was a sequel as well. What it is, there is a company in America called Life After Films, and they specialise in making movies of 80s classics, what happened to the cast after they left, the making of the movies, and this, that, and the other. They've only done 2 so far. Life After Flash, which I'm definitely going to track down. I believe it's on Prime, which is obviously about the making of Flash Gordon, the 1980 science fiction movie. So I will definitely be watching that. I love these Life After movies. So I'm going to be tracking that one down. And the next one, this has got me quite excited actually. The next one is going to be Life After, what was it called? It's based on the Neverending Story anyway. It's what's happened to everybody after the Neverending Story and the making of that. So that is going to be a real good watch. And that's coming out, I believe, hopefully later this year. But Life After the Navigator, where to start? I don't want to give too much away. It's on Prime if you want to have a look at it. I believe it's on for rental. But you get obviously a good background on the making of the movie, interviews with the stars, but it tends to concentrate mostly on young Joey Kramer, who played David. He has had quite a roller coaster of a life after this. And you would not think for a second that this cute kid that played this role was all this stuff that happened to him. I mean, it's fairly well documented, so I don't think I'm giving too much away. He obviously spiraled into drink, drugs, petty crime. He's been jailed more times than he cares to mention, and it all culminated in an attempted bank robbery. It's a fascinating documentary. It is really, really good, and don't be fooled by it. It's not depressing. It is sobering to watch it and to realise that this happened to this poor lad. But he came through it. He came through it with shining colours. He's a completely different person now. But I found the whole thing really interesting and totally fascinating. So if you get a chance to watch that, as I say, I believe it's on Prime. Amazon Prime. It is just really interesting to see how the movie was made, the background of some of the other stars as well, what's happened to them since. I get more of a kick out of seeing what they look like nowadays. Joey Kramer is completely unrecognisable, obviously, because, let's see, what would it have been, 12 in 1986, so he'd be in his late 40s now, but obviously you wouldn't recognise him. But yeah, I found it very, very interesting. There's a lot of talk on the special effects, the liquid metal steps, and the ship were done. I can't remember how they were done now, but basically, James Cameron cited that movie as his thing to do Terminator 2, Judgment Day, the liquid metal Terminator. He cited that movie as one of the reasons why he wanted to do it that way, and this was 6 full years before Terminator 2 came out, so that's quite a nod. So yeah, that's Flight of the Navigator, which I absolutely loved and truly regret watching the first time round, and also Life After the Navigator, which will clue you up on what happened to everybody after the movie. Which you will find interesting, I guarantee. And it's not depressing. It is in parts, but it's not. It ends up quite positive. So, right, that's it for this week. I'll be back again next week. Not sure what I'm going to be watching yet. I'm going to try and hit another 80s classic, actually. Not sure yet, but we shall see. Thanks ever so much for joining me. If you've enjoyed the video, just give it a thumbs up and also subscribe. That would be brilliant. And I will talk to you all again very soon. Take care, everybody. Ta-ra.